Well, hello everyone, and welcome here to the Saint Anselm Coaches Show, live at Davison Hall every Tuesday from noon to 1, and heard back on ESPN New Hampshire radio from 5:30 to 6:30. That's 900 and 1250 a.m., and also again online at espnnewhampshire.com. A winter theme to today's show. We're going to talk hockey, both women's and men's. Momentarily joined by women's head ice hockey coach Kerstin Matthews, and then one of the players, one of the captains, one of the seniors, Courtney Winters, will join us. She's also one of the best players in program history. Second half hour, we switch to the men's side, where Ed Seney will join us, longtime head coach of the Hawks men's hockey team. And then women's basketball, that season right around the corner. We'll be joined again by Julie Plant on the eve of the 2013-2014 campaign. And then, of course, my favorite part of the show, to close things out, we will recap the week that was and preview the week ahead. Let's start with women's ice hockey, and what a start they have gotten off to. 2-0 to begin the season, a 2-1 win over UMass Boston, followed by a 4-3 overtime win over Sacred Heart. Freshman Alexandra Starzyk potted a pair of game-winning goals to start her career, along with four other Hawks who contributed multi-point weekends. Sophomore Sarah Geisinger chipped in with 2 assists, while junior Sabrina Ianetti, sophomore Alex Kasmer, and junior Tiffany Heron each added a goal and an assist. In net, junior Lindsey Brown made 35 saves, had a 2.23 goals against average, and an 89.7 save percentage, while freshman Hannah Synott made her collegiate debut, entering the Sacred Heart game in the third period, earned her first career win, and did not see a shot as the Hawk defense able to step up. So a 2-0 start and a great beginning to the season, Coach. You couldn't have drawn it up any better.
I could have drawn it up better. I think our play could have been better, but the fact that we could come out and win 2 games right off the bat was excellent. I was really happy, especially because we're such a young squad. We've got 17 kids in that freshman and sophomore class, so being so young, I was happy with the outcome.
Seems like your team's coach are always aggressive. They always come to play in the first period, and they maintain that energy for 60 minutes.
We play a very aggressive system. We send 2 kids on the puck hard all the time, all over the ice. So the kids actually play very aggressive. I would rather see them be over aggressive and make a big mistake than to sit back and let something happen to them. So they definitely are trained to play that way.
Joined by Kerstin Matthews, head coach of the Saint Anselm Hawks, 2-0 to begin the season, and the shot total in that Saturday game was out of control. If I hadn't been there myself, I probably would not have believed it. Looking in the box scores after the game, over 60, I believe, in that game.
I believe it was recorded at 65, yeah.
I mean, that's approaching record territory, right?
Yeah, I just wish the more of them went in.
You got to be pleased, though, with the peppering all afternoon.
Yes, I was. We actually spent a lot of time this morning making sure that those shots actually go in and they don't hit that girl quite as often. So that's definitely the fact that the kids are getting the puck to the net. We just got to make sure we're driving a little bit more, making sure the goalie can't see as much, which I think will actually help us for this coming weekend.
And that shot production is a result of that aggressive play, right?
Oh, it definitely is, because we let that weak side defender slide right down. So you've really got 2 kids that are in front of the net, and you've got 2 kids that pull way down to get those shots off. So we've got ultimately 4 kids probably below the top of the circle sometimes.
Kerstin Matthews joining us, head coach of the women's ice hockey team. A team that you can count on to be competitive, certainly since you've been here. Seems like year in and year out, they're one of the favorites to win the conference. They compete well in the ECAC. Is it more the players or the system that you have in place? I know it's both, but in your mind, how does that work?
Truthfully, I really think it is the players. I think the systems are great, but it's your ability to execute the systems. We talked about this actually this morning at practice, that I had the girls make some changes, and I think your ability to actually make changes, whether it be on the fly or in practice, that truly speaks to the players' abilities and the fact that they can make adjustments. I actually think that is the hardest thing to do.
You got to be a smart hockey player to do that.
I would honestly say everyone in our locker room is a smart kid.
Is that one of the things you look for when you recruit?
It is. We look for a complete athlete, and what I mean by that is someone who can compete in the classroom, someone who can compete here socially, and someone can compete from a hockey standpoint. there's no place to hide here. This is a very tough academic school. It's a very, we have a winning tradition in our program, which is something we're very proud of. So the girls need to be on their game all the time. And I think that's a life lesson that they take out of here because I don't know about you, but I don't get too many days off either.
No. Trying to remember when the last one was. Listening to the Saint Anselm Coaches Show here on ESPN New Hampshire, ESPNNewHampshire.com, talking women's hockey with head coach Kerstin Matthews. 2-0 start to begin. And you mentioned it. You got a lot of young players here. You jokingly said, I can't remember all their names sometimes. How has that been so far?
You know what? It's been great. It's added a lot of depth for us, which is something I didn't think we had as much of last year. I really truthfully feel that right now with who we dressed this weekend, there are kids that I didn't get into the game that could have very well been in the game, but it's a matter of just making sure that you've got a rhythm for those kids that are getting out there. So sometimes I don't get to play as many people as I'd like to, even though the truth is all of them can actually positively affect the game. So I feel that we're in a very good place depth-wise. I mentioned to you earlier that we had a couple injuries after the weekend, and the truth is we have players that can go for them and that are excited to get that opportunity. And I think in particular the freshman class is very hungry to get their opportunities as opposed to nervous, which is a really good place to be in.
Seems like a good problem to have as a coach.
Oh, I'm enjoying this problem quite a bit, quite frankly.
Well, one of those young players you talked about made literally a difference in both games, had 2 game winners, was honored by the conference, Alexandra Starzik.
Yes.
And obviously she has gotten off her St. A's career to a good start. What do you like about her?
Actually, my favorite thing about Alex is how relaxed she is. She sort of has that what I call surf kid mentality. She looks like she belongs in California on a beach.
Where's she from?
She's from Connecticut, so not even close.
Right.
I think when you come into your freshman year, it's nerve-wracking. You've got new systems, you've got new people to play with, and you want to try to earn your spot, where Alex does a very good job of holding her composure. And I think that allows her to have the patience with a puck that she needs to have versus gripping her stick a little bit too tight, which I think is a common thing that happens to most freshmen. And I think Alex has sort of changed the viewpoint on that, and it paid off for her this weekend. She definitely had 2 great goals to help us out this weekend.
Speaking with Kerstin Matthews, head coach of the women's ice hockey team here on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com. How about the veterans? And that's really, I think, the group that makes things tick. You've always had a strong senior class during your tenure here. This group here, led by Courtney Winters, we'll talk to her in just a moment, seemingly as strong as in years past.
Yeah, this group is a very strong group, not only from an impact player piece on the ice, but from a leadership standpoint. I would say arguably those 3 are not only 3 of our better players, but they're also 3 of our hardest workers, and they also set a great example for the kids off the ice, whether it be in the classroom, in the weight room, making sure they get the extra stuff done. And they've been unreal to be able to carry 17 freshmen and sophomore and make sure that those kids are coming and stepping up big every day. So I can't say enough about those 3 seniors. They've been unreal for us.
Do you lean on them a little bit to kind of police the locker room type of thing?
We lean on them a lot. I really feel that it's their responsibility to be able to police themselves. Obviously, we have a piece in terms of setting what I like to call guidelines, but those kids really, they have to be responsible for governing one another and making sure that they're being held accountable. And the best way to be held accountable is by your teammates.
Good point. Seems like you got always a group of good character kids as well, and that's, as you mentioned, one of the things you look for. So makes it easier, I suppose, on the coaching staff as well.
It's a big piece of our recruiting philosophy, to be honest. We look at the parents, we look at everything, because once you're here, I own you for 4 years, and I want to make sure that I like you just as much as you like me. So it really, it's a big piece. We actually had a new assistant start this morning, and she was actually my captain 4 years ago, Sarah Ellen. So we want the kids to come back to the program. We want them to take things out of the program that isn't just hockey specific. We want them to really feel that they're a part of our family here for 4 years.
Well, what about your background here? You've been here since 2008. How have you grown as a coach?
Truthfully, I think I've mellowed. I don't know if the players will agree with that, but I think I've mellowed. I also think I've done a better job of letting them take more responsibility for themselves. In the beginning, I was pretty constantly hands-on, where now they really do a much better job holding themselves accountable, and that's something where I can focus in other areas, which has been really helpful for our success.
Well, moving forward, what do you expect here? What's the goal? I know obviously it's to win the conference and that, but in the short term, how would you like to see your team grow by, let's say, the midway point?
really what we're looking for right now is to be more consistent. We need to find a way to put together 60 minutes consistently. That was the one thing I thought we lacked this weekend, is that we couldn't put 20 minutes after 20 minutes after 20 minutes. We've got to find a way to play a complete full period and then add to that. And I think being so young, that's obviously going to be a challenge for us. And the other side of it is the kids to gain some chemistry and be able to compete. This truthfully is one of the first times we'll ever play back-to-back opponent in the same weekend. We typically split the weekend with different people. So I think that in and of itself will be a very big challenge for us. We got a 5.5-hour bus ride, which is outside of what we normally do. Don't play till 7:30 Saturday night. You got a whole day to sit around. So this will definitely be a challenge, especially with 17 young kids.
Because it seems like at home, you've always got the advantage early because you're ready to play. Your team is ready to play. I think that's a credit to you and your staff. On the road, though, last year, I think you were undefeated. I think you were 9-0-2, if I remember correctly. So what is the trick to get them ready to play?
Well, I'd like to think that we start it now. We don't wait until we're on the road. We talk to the kids a lot about now what they need to be able to do to prepare, and we don't necessarily talk much about winning as we do about the actual little things to prepare that create the win, if that makes sense. So we spend a lot more time creating that environment versus just talking about the results. We want to talk about what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. And holding them accountable every day. You can't have a day off for practice. You and I just talked about this. We don't get a whole lot of days off in life, so they've got to be able to come and practice the way they play. And believe it or not, for the teachers out there, I actually reference it to class quite a bit, that you don't just study for the test the night before.
Right.
You've got to come every day and put a solid effort in.
And it seems like you've got that 12-month regimen in place. We talked off air. You brought it over from your days as an assistant at BU under head coach Mike Boyle. Tell me a little bit about that.
One of the biggest things that I brought with me from BU is really our strength and conditioning program. The girls off season are in the weight room at least 3 days a week, and then in season we're in there 2 days a week. And we are fortunate enough to have a personal trainer on staff as well who comes in with the girls and can do some form work with them, which is important. We also added yoga last year, which I think is helping with, believe it or not, with our training. So,
and what does that entail exactly?
The yoga has actually been a great piece. It's the stretching piece that's really kind of helped the players. It actually helps with your skating stride, believe it or not. And I think it's teaching the girls that you can't just come and perform. You've got to have a cool down, a warm up. You know, we've got bikes in the arena for them to get on. We've got food that's left that is for them after workouts, things like that. All those little things add up to a huge thing, and like I said, you can't just prepare for Saturday on Friday. We've got to do it all week long. So the kids, they put in a very solid effort all week, and it's demanding, and I think that's important. But like I said, that was something we came from with BU, and our strength and conditioning program is great. I'm not lying. I steal it from BU. I don't physically steal it, but their strength and conditioning coach over there is a good friend of mine, and she helps tailor the program to what we need to do here. And I think that's a large part of our success, to be quite honest.
Absolutely. Kerstin Matthews talking off-season with the women's hockey team and the work that goes into that. A couple minutes left here before we welcome in one of the seniors on the team, Courtney Winters, one of the all-time leaders in points. What about the game itself at the college level? You played at Providence. You were a graduate, I think, in 2000 as a team captain your senior year. You've seen, I'm sure, a lot of games, a lot of changes, both as a coach and a player. Any big difference stick out in your mind?
I would think the big difference, to be honest, is really the talent level. I think these young women have become more and more talented. And it really becomes a matter of, like I said to you earlier, execution. The teams that win are the teams that can execute. I think all teams have some skill set. The more skill set you have, but really the ability for your players to execute for that 60 minutes is usually who determines the winner. So I think the overall skill level has improved dramatically since I played myself.
And why is that?
I think a lot of it is probably what kids are able to have exposure to. Quite frankly, I didn't play hockey all year round when I played. Not until when I was older. I think it's part of our society. Hockey's become sort of a specialized sport. I'm not sure I agree with it, to be honest. I think you need to recruit an overall athlete, truthfully. Right. But, Mark Messier actually did a whole thing on this and talks about the fact that it's almost becoming unaffordable for the average hockey player to play hockey anymore. And that's in Canada, which is supposedly the hockey hotbed of the world. So it's a big piece that these kids are being very specialized. And I think it's coming as a society thing versus how well-rounded you get to be and play 3 sports. The days of being a 3-sport athlete are becoming smaller and smaller.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, wish we could dive into it a little bit further. And I'm sure economics is probably a part of that as well. But unfortunately, I think we're just about out of time. But you wanted to talk about the upcoming schedule in particular. What are you looking for coming up?
Actually, the game I think we're looking for some support from everybody would be our Manhattanville game on the 16th. That's a
That's a rival too.
That's a big rival of ours. Norwich and Manhattanville are probably our two biggest rivals in league. So those are always excellent games, and the more support we can have, the better. So, our whole season is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but the more we can have in terms of those big games is always great. So anybody can come out on that Saturday would be fantastic. November the 16th.
Big game early in the season.
Yeah.
It's exciting. The season is here.
Oh, it's here. It sure is.
It's here and now undefeated again at 2-0. So hope the momentum stays with you.
Thank
Coach,
you very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Nice job. That's Kerstin Matthews, the head coach of the women's hockey team, joining us here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. It is all brought to you, of course, by Saint Anselm College. They feature 20 NCAA Division II programs, most of which compete in the highly competitive Northeast 10 Conference. With over 100 home events this season, there are plenty of chances to catch the Hawks in action. If you can't make it to the game, log on to saintanselmhawks.com and follow along with free live stats of every home contest, or better yet, be sure to check out saintanselmhawks.tv for live video broadcasts of every football, basketball, and hockey game, as well as other select events throughout the year. So we thank Coach Kerstin Matthews for joining us, and let's keep the conversation going as one of the seniors, Courtney Winters, joining me. Courtney, business as usual. You guys go out, you get a couple of wins, and things looking up early in the season. You're off to another hot start.
Yeah, definitely. It was a rough, first few games, but every first game is going to be difficult, especially with 17 underclassmen. But we're really excited about the way the results came out, and looking forward to the weekend coming up.
And how's that affect you now? You're a senior, and you've got a bunch of youngsters running around.
I'm trying my hardest to be, the best leader I can. I'm trying to find the happy medium between motivating myself and motivating the other players.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just, trying to do what I can and go out there and play my best.
Overall, it seems like year in, year out, you guys are a fun group. It looks like from the outside looking in, you're banging the pads, you're yelling before you take the ice. It seems like it's a good chemistry there in the locker room.
Absolutely. Hockey, we came here for hockey, but we truly, the purpose is to have fun, and that is exactly what we do. We like each other. We like being there. It's just a great chemistry and a fun atmosphere.
You've played with some all-time greats over the last couple of years by the numbers. Now you're entering that group as well. You've got over, 100 career points and counting. You've still got a full way to go. Does that perspective enter your mind at all, that you may be one of the best to ever suit up here at St. Anselm? Or is that too heavy for you?
I truly don't really like to think about that because I play hockey for the reason of, the love of the sport and what it has brought me over the years. It's not just about how well I do on the stat sheet. It's about what the sport actually brings me and what I've, gained over my years of just, relationships and life lessons and whatnot. I'm flattered that you think that I'm one of the best, but, I play for the love.
Good answer.
Thanks.
Speaking with Courtney Winters, one of the senior captains here of a very good Saint Anselm women's ice hockey team here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. The fact that your team changes every year, and I know you've been with a group of seniors that have really, I guess Coach Matthews says, she's become reliant on you guys for a lot. But as you mentioned, it's 17 new players, first month of the season. What does that typically mean in terms of getting everybody comfortable?
As a freshman, I can remember just being so nervous just to join this new group. You come from being, the best in your team from your senior year of high school to a whole new branch of people, and everyone's just trying to get comfortable and whatnot. So we try, as leaders to make everyone feel comfortable and bring their personalities out and, come together as a family. I think that's really important, and we're trying to find a way to, allow everyone to do that.
Did the older players, when you arrived, were they like that as well, kind of reaching out with open arms?
Yeah, I think so. I think, my previous seniors that I've had really helped me become the leader that I am today. So, yeah, it's really helped.
You mentioned earlier your love for the game of hockey. Where'd that come from?
Honestly, I didn't start hockey until I was 9 or 10 years old. I think it was a late start.
That's a late start?
Yeah, I would think so. There's a lot of people that start way earlier, but I've always just loved sports, and I started playing hockey. I started playing street hockey, and I never even thought of picking up, a pair of skates until someone asked me that if I wanted to try it, and I'm really open to anything.
How'd you get into the street hockey?
Uh, just playing outside. I had a really nice community where, a lot of the boys just go out, so I joined them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Any other sports growing up before you discovered ice hockey?
I honestly, my 8th grade year, I was thinking of actually not playing hockey and playing basketball. So I played, honestly, everything. I've tried everything. I just really just love sports. I love what it brings me. And just participating in the team events is just something.
The thing I always liked about sports was you get to kind of let loose and forget about everything else for a couple hours.
Exactly.
Is that the kind of experience you get?
I try to as much as I can. Sometimes it's hard to, forget about the things surrounding you, but it is a way to just let everything go and just really just, put yourself into the situation that you do forget about things. So it's nice.
Courtney Winters joining us, one of the senior captains of the women's ice hockey team. They're off to a great 2-0 start to begin the season. You've played now for Coach Matthews for 4 seasons. How's that been going?
It really has been great. One of the main reasons why I came to this school is because of Coach Matthews. She told me that she wanted to make me the best player that I could possibly be, and that really hit home for me because that is why that's how I want to end my career. I want to be confident in myself as a player and as a person, and I think she's truly done that.
She made a pretty good first impression, I assume, too.
I guess so.
Moving forward, senior year, your last go-around, what would you like to see happen?
Well, obviously, I want to be successful.
You want to win,
I want
right?
The team to be successful and, finish what we've started from my freshman year and just continue the success. But I want to have fun. It's my senior year. I don't want to have any regrets. Just go out and do what I can.
Leave it all on the ice.
Exactly.
You like playing in this aggressive style of Coach Matthews?
It's the only way I would want to play.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Personally, you are a communications major, and you would like to get into which field when you leave here?
Right now I'm looking in internships regarding event planning, graphic design, marketing. Like I said, I'm really open to anything. I believe, anything that I get will teach me something new that I can bring in my future. I'm confident that what I do now will help me some way or another. I'm open to anything, really.
You'll have the Saint Anselm degree, which is big as well.
Right.
So, good stuff. Appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Best of luck against the rivals,
Yes.
Manhattanville. Coming up. That's always a fun game. We appreciate it. That's Courtney Winters joining us, one of the best players to ever suit up, in my opinion and in fact, as she joins us here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. Good stuff from both the head coach, Kerstin Matthews, and the senior captain, Courtney Winters. On the other side, we'll stay on the ice. We're going to talk men's hockey with head coach Ed Seney, and then we'll talk a little women's basketball with a friend of the show, Julie Plant, as she makes her return, plus a recap of the week that was, and of course, we'll preview the week ahead as well. More in a moment. You are listening to the Saint Anselm Coaches Show right here on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com. Welcome back here to the Saint Anselm Coaches Show, heard live every Tuesday from 5:30 to 6:30 on ESPN New Hampshire. You can hear it online as well, ESPNNewHampshire.com. You can download the app on your smartphone, listen to it that way, and of course you can go old school as well and listen on AM radio at 900 and 1250 AM. I'm Nick Anastos. Special thanks to head women's ice hockey coach Kerstin Matthews for joining me earlier. Women's ice hockey senior captain Courtney Winters as well. They both did a great job breaking down women's ice hockey on the Hilltop, one of those teams that you can count on to be good every single year. And if you haven't checked them out at Sullivan Arena yet, do so this weekend. They've got a big game coming up against one of the rivals in Manhattanville. Later on in the show, we'll talk women's basketball with head coach Julie Plant. New head coach Julie, she'll be back. Joining me here in a moment. And we'll also recap the week that was and preview the upcoming week as well. Want to take the time to remind you, before we get into Ed Seney here and talk men's hockey, that ESPN New Hampshire and Apple Therapy have joined forces to find the most unique, accomplished, and skilled senior high school student athletes in the Granite State. Every year, ESPN New Hampshire will honor one high school senior boy and one senior girl for our Apple Therapy Student Athlete of the Week. Then from the weekly winners, we will select a student athlete of the month. At the end of the school year, all the monthly winners will be invited to a banquet where we will name our Apple Therapy Student Athletes of the Year and award one boy and one girl a $2,500 scholarship for college. Requirements: you must be a senior in a New Hampshire high school. You must play a varsity sport. You must have a 3.0 GPA or higher. To nominate, send the player's name, high school, and accomplishments via email to matt@espnnh.com. All brought to you by Apple Therapy, bringing you back to your life. Well, one of those other teams that you can count on to be competitive and win a bunch of games every year is, of course, the men's hockey team, joined now by longtime head coach Ed Seney. Entering your 12th year, Coach. Can you believe it's been that long?
No, it does go really fast. My 33rd year total. So since 1981, I've been
seen a lot of hockey.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of hockey, and it's spent a lot of time on a bus, but it's something I love to do, and I'm looking forward to this year.
Came over, as you mentioned off air, from SUNY Potsdam. You were there for a long time, 14 years. What happened before that? How did you get into coaching originally?
I graduated from New England College in '81, and I stayed on there as an assistant coach for 3 years. Then I went to Norwich University for 3 years as an assistant coach. Norwich.
Oh, Norwich. Okay.
I was at Norwich for 3 years.
And then program there, obviously.
Yes, and then I went to Clarkson University, Division I program for 1 year.
Yep.
So I was 7 years as an assistant coach, and then I was 14 years at Potsdam State, and now this is my 12th year. So.
What do you like about Saint Anselm?
I just love the environment here. I think the student body is great. I mean, most of our fans, I'd say, are the students, and Friday night crowds. We draw one of the most. I think we've drawn some of the most crowds in the league. Norwich is up there. We're up there, and I think in the NESCACs, maybe Middlebury and Bowdoin. But this is one of the best rinks in the country to play in.
Yeah, I mean, it does get packed for sure.
It's great. We've had great support since I've been here. They really get into it. I think we do have a home rink advantage with our crowd.
And that helps your guys, right?
Yeah, I just think that the biggest disappointment in that is when we play usually have our championship game in the Northeast 10, we're on break. that seems to be kind of a downer, but we pack them in there. Hopefully, a week from Friday as our home opener, we'll get a good crowd then.
Ed Seney joining us, 12th year on the Hilltop as the ice hockey head coach on the men's side. They open up the season on the road at Babson this Friday night. Coach, your team's always competitive. They always play hard. They're always successful as well. What's been the key in your mind?
I think the key is you have to get young men that buy into the team concept. Individual goals will come because of the team, and if we've had pretty good success with our leadership, keeping that in mind. Obviously, when you have 26 skaters or 25 skaters, everybody can't play an equal amount of time. The guys who haven't played have really supported each other, and when you feel that team bonding, I think that's what makes it special around here. Is when the whole campus and everybody gets involved in it. In the end, when it's all over and done, they never ask how many points you had. It's, either you won or you lost as a team, and that seems to be the big thing for us.
I mean, that's got to make it easier for you to. I don't know about feel confident is the right word, but I would imagine that trying to juggle playing time and lines. That can sometimes be a touchy area for a coach.
Yeah, I mean everybody wants to play. Being a parent of a daughter who played college sports, my daughter went here. You know what they go through. You can feel their pain, kind of. And as long as you can, you try and get everybody out there that you can. And I think it's really important that the people who do play a lot make the people who don't play a lot feel it's important. Because with practice, if you don't have the competition in practice, you don't get better. And if you only have 10 guys in practice, you're never going to get better. So
Right.
you really have to try and keep the big picture in mind. And it's like I said, it's a team goal, it's an individual goals, and once it becomes individual, then you kind of lose your focus.
I'm curious, Coach, just real quick to get your take on what's going on in the NFL with Richie Incognito of the Dolphins. You've heard of that story of the bullying and hazing between teammates and players in the locker room. Seems like hazing is always kind of a part of sports, but certainly in the limelight right now in light of what's happened in Miami. What is your take on that as a head coach?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of mind-boggling that it happens at that level.
You would think they'd be adults at that point.
Yeah, but it just goes to show you that, especially in college environment, I mean, coaches can lose jobs, players can lose their education, you can lose your scholarship if you're a scholarship school. But what we try and stress with our guys is, treat people like you want to be treated.
Right.
And it sounds easy, but you remember what it's like when you were a freshman, how you felt if you were treated poorly, or if you felt if an upperclassman came up and made you feel welcome. It just makes you feel like you're wanted. At the pro level, I think there's more hazing that goes on at the pro level. You see some of the baseball players going through airports dressed up as superheroes, and but in college sports, it's you're only here for 4 short years,
right?
And you want to make the experience, an enjoyable one. And when bullying or hazing's involved, it just kind of takes you back 3 or 4 years to kind of start it over again. And hopefully, our guys understand that. We talk about it a lot. We've had programs here on campus about it. It is talked about. You just hope that the men and women involved use a little common sense. And I always go back to, if you have to think about it for more than 10 seconds, it's probably not a good thing.
Right. That's a good rule of thumb.
And just go back to how you were treated as a young man or young woman coming up through, and there's always somebody that was older that kind of took you under the wing and made you feel good. And I think that's what we're trying to get our guys to do.
Good point. Ed Seney joining us, men's hockey head coach. Let's talk about the team. You lost a lot of senior leadership from a year ago and a lot of points off the score sheet as well. Is that the big challenge going into the season, is replacing that production?
Yeah, I mean, we were very fortunate to have 2 100-point guys in their career here. That doesn't happen very often in college hockey.
Right.
And then we had another guy with 81. So we lost 291 points, I believe, total with 3 guys. But we have some good young players coming up.
Say that
the
number
ranks.
again. 291.
291 for
Wow.
3 guys. And you don't really know about it until you look at the stats, and they're gone. But now we have to fill in with the guys we have, returners that I know can do the job, and also with some freshmen. We have 12 new guys this year. But it's going to come from the returning guys who are seniors now. The guys who are juniors, now it's kind of their turn.
Right.
So it'll be a different role for them, but hopefully they can rise to the challenge.
Some of these seniors are household names at this point. If you've been following Saint Anselm hockey, guys who really came in as youngsters and played right away, and here they are as seniors, still going strong. Greg Crobo, a name that pops out. Joe Tabano has been consistent. Greg Merrill has been a starter. Alex Pascal, he's got a pretty good slap shot in my opinion. Then you got juniors like guys like Sean Jenkins, who have certainly contributed. The sophomore John Ahern played a little bit last year. On and on and on. Are you looking for more now that they're seniors? Are you expecting them to take that next step, so to speak?
Yeah, I think anytime you get older in a program and you have ability, you get more responsibility. And with that responsibility, comes accountability. And it's a different role for these guys. 2 of the guys you didn't mention are 2 senior goaltenders.
Oh, of course. I was saving that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saving it because I know how important goaltending is. And with those 2 guys back there, they're kind of the backbone of the team. We have a lot of confidence in those 2. And I think where our depth is in the back, with our team defense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a good place to have your strength at. Now we're asking some of the guys who had 20 points, had 17 points, to step up and play up to your ability and work hard, and the points will come. It's always hard to predict how many points you'll get, but usually if you work hard and you play the game the right way, the wins and the points will follow.
Sticking with the goaltending for a moment, Nick Dries and Robert Kang, both seniors, as you mentioned. Both guys have accolades throughout the league, have had a great tenure so far here at Saint Anselm. What's the difference between the two? They're both good, obviously, but what are some of the comparisons between the two?
Well, I think Nick likes to play the puck a lot more. Kind of makes me sometimes get a little nervous back there when he comes out of the net. Rob's more of a stay-at-home, uses his size. I think Nick tries to read the play, and he's like a third defenseman back there sometimes on the breakout. Or like I said, Rob will stay in there. But what they're both very good at doing is they're both very good at saving the first shot. And then the rebounds, I'll tell them, hey, we'll help you out there. And they have experience. They both played in any 10 championship games. They played, in the ECAC league where they played at Norwich, and they played Babson and, all the Iron and Arva League. So there's nothing they haven't seen, which is a good thing for a coach.
Right. And depth as well. We talked with Coach Matthews about it earlier. Seems like a pretty good problem to have as a coach, knowing that you can lean on either guy, in this case, in the goal.
Yeah, and also, we have a freshman, Brad Rochelle, who's been playing very well in practice. I just think in college sports, especially in ice hockey, if you have only one goaltender and he gets hurt, it's kind of hard to have one guy that if you lose him, then your season is kind of on the brink.
Right.
We're very fortunate we have three guys, and the season will play out to see for the playing time, and that kind of takes care of itself.
Speaking with Ed Seney, men's hockey coach here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show, live on ESPN New Hampshire and ESPNNewHampshire.com, or heard every Tuesday. There it is, from 5:30 to 6:30. We'll talk women's basketball with Julie Plant in just a moment. The youngsters, the new guys.
Yeah.
You mentioned some of those guys, some of those veterans need to step up. Young guys, you never quite know what you're going to get, so to speak. What do you expect, anyway, with the season opener looming on Friday?
Well, opening on Friday, we'll probably have, 4 to 6 new guys in the lineup. We have some injuries also. I mean, John Ahern might be out with a shoulder. Ryan Sullivan might be out with a shoulder. Tyler Esty might be out with a hip. So
injuries already.
We haven't even started yet, so you never know. And usually the new guys, they'll bring energy.
Right.
They're going to make mistakes, but hopefully the energy will make up for that. The effort should be there, especially when it's your first time out there. And that's where you look for your seniors or your juniors to kind of settle them down a little bit. But if they all we ask you, go out, you compete. If you make a mistake, just recover from it. And we have good goaltending. Hopefully, we can cover some of our mistakes early. And you never know what's going to happen.
Do you have to coach differently year in and year out based on the personnel?
Yeah, every year is different. Every team kind of takes its own kind of shape, and you never know when it's going to happen. It usually might take probably 10 to 12 games to kind of get an idea of where you are. Well, we jump right into the heart of this. Our first game was against the defending ECAC champ, so you play 25 games, and they're all what I consider playoff games.
Yeah, Babson, the first opponent, that's on the road. We talked earlier off the air. 8 of your first 11 games on the road. Is that notable in your mind, or is it just that's the way it is, and we'll go out and play wherever?
Yeah, that's kind of the way it is, because our schedule is pretty much preset by the ECAC and the NE10. The only schedule we can control is we have three non-league games with Potsdam this year twice and Salem State once. So everything else is predetermined by your schedule. So
right.
It always ends up around 13 and 12, 12 and 13, home and away, no matter how you slice it. We have a lot of home games in January this year, which is good. We'll have our student body here, and hopefully we can get them out. And our next our first home weekend is, like I said, a week from Friday. And then we have one more game, I think midweek, and then like you said, 3 out of
You got 8 of 11.
8 of 11 on the road.
Begin. But you're right. First road game, season opener, Friday at Babson. That's a 7 o'clock start, followed up the next day on Saturday the 9th at UMass Boston at 4:30. Then the home debut of the St. A's Hawks comes a week from Friday, as you mentioned, Coach, the 15th against Castleton. Next day, home game as well against Skidmore. And by the way, in January, you have 6 of 8 at home to close out the month of January. And then the first 2 in February at home as well. So
Yeah.
that is a pretty good
So
stretch down the road as well when you're closing in on the playoffs.
Yeah, and sometimes when you go on the road with a young team, you have more bonding because you're in hotels, you're rooming with guys. We try and put roommates together that you try and put some young guys with some old guys to kind of so they get a chance to know each other. And that always helps, I think, when you go on the road. Like last year, we were supposed to open at home, but we had the power. We lost our ice, so we had to go down to Babson. So hopefully it'll be a good thing this year.
Is that one of the things you control? Is who rooms with who on the road?
Yeah, we try to mix it up a little bit, and
it's interesting.
You don't want to put guys that room together on campus all the time.
Right.
So that way they're kind of forced to talk to each other without texting or emailing or
right, which can be hard.
Facebook or Twitter or whatever social media they can come up with. Yeah, so hopefully they get a chance to talk to each other and how many brothers and sisters.
Right.
All
Nothing
that
wrong with
stuff.
a good conversation.
Yeah, it's getting tougher and tougher to have those, but it does help.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, Coach. Appreciate the time. Best of luck on Friday.
Thanks very much.
And we'll talk again throughout the year.
Yeah, I hope to see everybody out there on the 15th.
Absolutely. Home opener on the 15th.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Ed Seney, longtime head coach, beginning his 12th season on the Hilltop. Again, the Hawks in action on Friday on the road. Tough task right off the bat against Babson. As a young team looking to solidify a solid start to the year. You are listening to the Saint Anselm Coaches Show, recorded live here at Davison Hall every Tuesday from noon to 1, and then heard back on ESPN New Hampshire Tuesday nights from 5:30 to 6:30. Before the close of the show, we'll recap the week that was and preview the week ahead. But first, we got to stop in with my friend Julie Plant. Welcome back to the show, the first-year head coach of the women's basketball team. Coach, what's new here?
Oh, we're getting ready for our first game. So we tip off Friday, then we play again Saturday, both home games. So we're really excited. But it's good to see you again. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. Last time we talked, things were still kind of taking shape. I'm sure they are to a degree on the eve of the opener, but you're certainly further along at this point right now. Do you have kind of an idea what the rotation will look like at this point?
Yeah, I think we have a fairly good idea. We're fighting a few injuries right now, so if we're healthy, we're going to try to play pretty big. We have two strong post players, Story Lair and Allie Jones, who will play the 4 and the 5. And then we'll put Bree Jones at the 3, so it gives us a lot of versatility and a lot of size. Our 3 through 5, and our backcourt's been playing really well in scrimmages. Meg Morrissey and Candace Andrews, Candace, a freshman, coming in and doing some really good things. They've been playing really well together. So as of right now, with no injuries, that would be our starting 5. And then we got a couple seniors coming off the bench who will really look to contribute. Ashley Vaselli and Kiera Moore can shoot it, can really defend. They're long, they're athletic, they play really hard. Mm-hmm. And then we have Mariah, who will come in the post and really mix it up. She's a good jump shooter, and she can take it off the dribble, and she does a pretty good job in the post defense too. Yeah. So, I think we have some pretty good depth. We have some young kids who are really working hard to try to earn some minutes. Rocky did pretty well. Raquel Johnson in our first 3 scrimmages hit some jump shots and contributed offensively. And I think our younger kids are really starting to learn our defensive concepts. I think that's where the real big learning curve is for us. But all in all, I think we have some depth. We have some size. We have some kids who can really run in transition and score in transition. So I really like where we're at right now.
Seems like it. Tell me a little bit about Candace Andrews.
She's just a quick scoring guard. She can get to the rim. She likes to do a lot off the dribble. She's working on her outside shooting, her 3-point shooting off the catch. But she just creates. I mean, she's lightning quick. She has a really good first step. She's trying to figure out the right way to make passes for her teammates where they can be successful, because she gets by her defender and sees help so quickly, whips the ball around, and sometimes her teammates can't quite handle their passes. So she's got to really learn to make her teammates better by giving them good passes. But I mean, she's going to be very, very, very talented and a big part of what we're trying to do in the future here.
No, she was hyped as one of the best recruits in a while for the program, and I'm excited to see her play. Talking about women's basketball, season opener around the corner. Candace Andrews is one of the freshmen and should start, Coach, right away?
Yes.
Okay. So we're speaking with, of course, head coach Julie Plant. Another player you named there in the starting five at the 3 spot, Brianna Jones, a senior from White Plains, New York. Seems like she's been one of the most consistent players I've seen over the last several years. Now she's got her senior year ahead of her. What's the latest with Brianna?
Yeah, she's not only consistent, but she's efficient. She's our most efficient player. She rebounds. She passes the ball well into the post. She can score. I mean, she's very versatile. She can play the 4. She can play the 3. She can defend on the perimeter. She's arguably one of our best perimeter and post defenders, which is really, really rare. So yeah, she's by far our most consistent and efficient player so far.
And you got to plug her wherever, I would think, too. She can probably play 3-4 positions.
Yep. She can play the 3-4, or sometimes even the 5 if we have to go small. She can do that as well. Yeah.
You mentioned the 2 bigs, and the plan is to play them at the same time. Allie Jones, of course, a senior now from South Kingston, Rhode Island, and a transfer from St. Joe's, and then Tori Lair, a senior from Cohasset, Massachusetts. Both are big, but both have, I'd say, different types of games. They can do different things well. Am I right with that assessment?
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% correct. They're very 2 different players, but what's nice is they play well together. They pass the ball well to each other. When they're healthy, they're good, and when they're focused and they're confident, they're really good. I think that's kind of been their struggle, is just getting their confidence level up. I mean, Allie can score back to the basket. Tori can score back to the basket. I think they can be a little bit more aggressive back to the basket. We'd like to see them score around the basket more than, shooting face-up jump shots and stuff, which Tori can hit, Allie can hit. They have a little bit of range too. But we need to be more aggressive going to the basket so we can get to the free throw line more. And we're really trying to push them to attack and be aggressive down by the basket.
Is that the overall philosophy on offense, attack?
Yeah, we're going to try to get to the rim every time we can. We'll attack offensively, and we'll try to attack in and then out. So we want to get the ball inside first, use our bigs, get to the basket. Our guards in transition, Candace and Meg, are really good at pushing the ball. So we'll attack in transition with our guards. But if we don't have anything, we want to try to pound the post early and just continue to attack. Yeah.
Meg Morrissey, you mentioned her. She was kind of in and out of the lineup throughout her tenure at St. Anselm's, but I always thought she was one of the better players on the roster. She's made that impression with you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. She's been our solid floor leader from the start. She will start at our point guard, at the point guard position all year. She's smart. She's good with the ball. She's really been working on her outside shooting, and the kid can really shoot it. I have full confidence in her, and she has the green light. Anytime she's open from the 3, she can put it up. But she's been working on her jump shot off the dribble, and she can get to the rim. I mean, she's quick. If there's a little bit of daylight, she can turn the corner and really get to the basket. So we're going to need her to score, and we've had a lot of conversations about that early on, and she's accepted her role, and she's been, the last 2 scrimmages, she's been lights out. She's been outstanding. I think she's averaged like 13 points in our last 2 scrimmages, just scoring the ball and being aggressive. So it's been awesome to watch her kind of have confidence in herself and develop that, and her teammates have been so supportive of her. So it's been great to see.
She seems like she can attack the rim as well when necessary, which fits into that attack philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely, and she's really good in transition. Her and Candace together are fun to watch in transition, working off each other and attacking the basket.
Julie Plant joining us here, women's basketball head coach. Year number 1 for you. And I can tell you're enthusiastic. It seems like you've got confidence in this group. Has it shaken out to where you thought it would by this point, less than a week out for the opener?
I mean, yeah, for the most part. We picked up our defensive concepts a little slower than I would have liked. But we're improving every day. I can't knock the kids. They're really trying. They're working hard. Defensively, we need to be a lot better.
And what are some of the things you're working on defensively?
Really our ball pressure and our helping each other. We're going to play kind of zone concepts in a man half-court defense. But it's all predicated on trusting that our teammate will really pressure the ball. And if she gets beat off the dribble, our teammates are going to be in gaps to stop the ball.
Right.
So our post players have to be denying all the time. We can't give up baseline penetration. So there's a couple rules in our defense that we're starting to learn and we're starting to execute better. So it's a work in progress, but we've absolutely, from our first scrimmage to our last scrimmage, we're so much better in transition and in our half-court defense than we've been. So work in progress. We're getting better.
I think you guys will be all right. I really do.
I hope so.
I really do.
We will.
Good luck as well on Friday night, the opener, 7 o'clock, home game, by the way, at Stoutenburg Gymnasium against Georgian Court. And that one followed up on Saturday in game number 2 against LIU Post, also a home game at 5 o'clock. Coach, I hope next week you're 2-0.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's Coach Julie Plant joining me, first-year head coach of the Saint Anselm women's basketball team, doing a great job so far getting those players ready to go. And she's right, there is some talent on that team, and hopefully in year 1 it can be a turnaround year under Coach Plant. Well, let's get to it. Recapping the week that was and previewing the week ahead. Let's start with football. They played their best game of the season Friday night by far. They had 4 takeaways, and they did not turn it over until the final play of the contest when they threw up a Hail Mary, and they suffered a crushing 41-40 loss at home against LIU Post in the last minute. Trailing 34-30 early in the fourth, senior running back Keith Charles punched it in from 3 yards out to give the Hawks a 37-34 lead with 12:32 remaining after junior defensive back Mike Tatro recorded an interception in the end zone on the ensuing drive. Sophomore kicker Shane Grayson booted a 28-yard field goal to extend the lead 40-34 with just 4:14 to go. With LIU driving on the next series, sophomore defensive back Chad O'Neal came up with a pick to seemingly seal the deal, but the Hawks were forced to kick it away when facing a 4th and 1 with $1:18 on the clock. The Pioneers then went 93 yards in 7 plays and scored with just 24 seconds left to seal the victory. Charles became the second 2,000-yard rusher in the defeat. The co-captain also matched a career best with 10 catches, including one for a score, and set a new career high with 160 receiving yards, and also amassed 297 all-purpose yards, the third most in program history and just 6 yards shy of the record. Charles closed the night with 5,361 career all-purpose yards and moved to within 276 yards of the all-time mark of 5,637. Overshadowed by Charles's big night was the play of freshman Yanni Gavalis, the new quarterback, who threw for 430 yards, tied for the second-best single-game mark all-time at St. Anselm. He went 27 of 39, 3 touchdowns in just the second start of his career. Buried even deeper behind the top 2 storylines of the night was junior wide receiver Justin Bernard, who, by the way, just made 10 catches for 185 yards. Just the fourth most in St. Anselm single-game history. He also scored a touchdown. Hawks go for win number 1 at Pace Saturday at 1 o'clock. Field hockey. They went 1-1 last week. They wrapped up the season with a 3-1 win at Franklin Pierce on Tuesday, and then a 3-0 loss at Assumption on Sunday. Sophomore Megan Halligan potted a pair of goals at Franklin Pierce, while classmate Colleen Sears added a goal and an assist. Senior Elizabeth Sears and sophomore Taylor Coons each chipped in with an assist. Freshman goalkeeper Catherine Sears stopped 6 shots against the Ravens and made 5 saves at Assumption. The Hawks would have clinched their first Northeast 10 championship berth since 2007 with a win against the Greyhounds, but instead finished in a tie for 6th and the final playoff spot, but dropped the tiebreaker for the second time in 3 seasons. Women's soccer, they went 2-0 this week with victories over Stonehill and Lemoyne. Freshman Kendra Bonzar came up big for St. Anselm, scoring the game-winning goal in both games. Sophomore Callie Millette initiated the score against Stonehill as she took the initial shot on net that was saved by the Stonehill goalkeeper. Senior Shiveen Flattery picked up the rebound and passed it over to Bonzar, who booted the ball into the back of the net for the 1-0 score. Against the Dolphins, Bonzar notched her 4th game-winning goal of the season with her tally in double overtime. The Hawks earned their first Northeast 10 championship berth since 2009 and will travel to Adelphi this afternoon for a 4 o'clock contest. Men's soccer, they also finished up the season. They went 0-2. They dropped games to both Bentley and American International. Senior George Lamptey scored against Bentley with his goal at the 75-minute mark when he sent a blast into the left side of the net after picking up a ball that had come free in the box. St. Anselm senior goalkeeper Mark Kutsopoulos made 6 saves, facing off with the Yellow Jackets. The contest at AIC was the final game for seniors Bruno De Silva, Matthew McQueenie, Zach Wheely, Kevin Green, Michael Kearney, Brian Ayers, Drew Cooper, Lamptey, and Kutsopoulos. Volleyball, they went 0-3 on the week as they played a trio of road games with Franklin Pierce, St. Rose, and Lemoyne. In the 3-0 loss to the Ravens, senior Kyla Gustafson led the Hawks with 9 kills and 13 digs, while freshman Brenna Gladwell recorded 6 kills and 2 service aces, while junior Melissa Ouellette tallied 4 kills. Facing off with St. Rose, Gustafson and Gladwell each recorded 10 kills. Senior Holland McNabb added 4 kills to go along with her pair of blocks. And rounding out the trip to New York in the 3-1 defeat at Lemoyne, sophomore Lauren Oxley and freshman Catherine Morgan each recorded a team-high 9 kills. Freshman CC Chisholm led the team with 14 digs, while junior Natalie Steinwert had 9 digs to go along with 36 assists. Both the St. Anselm men's and women's cross-country teams were idle last week as they prepare for the NCAA East Regional Championships at Boston's Franklin Park. And women's ice hockey, they went 2-0 to open up the season. 2-1 win over UMass Boston. 4-3 overtime win over Sacred Heart. Freshman Alexandra Starzik potted a pair of game-winning goals in her career debut, along with 4 other Hawks who contributed multi-point weekends. Sophomore Sarah Geisinger chipped in with 2 assists, while junior Sabrina Ianetti, sophomore Alex Kasmer, and junior Tiffany Herron each added a goal and an assist. In net, junior Lindsey Brown made 35 saves, had a 2.23 goals against average. Freshman Hannah Synot made her collegiate debut, entering the Sacred Heart game in the 3rd period. She earned her first career win despite not seeing a shot. Special thanks to women's ice hockey head coach Kerstin Matthews for joining me earlier. Women's ice hockey senior captain Courtney Winters for joining me in the first half hour. It was good talking with Ed Seney, the men's ice hockey head coach as well, and Julie Plant, set to make her debut in year number 1 as the women's basketball head coach. We thank them for joining me here on the Saint Anselm Coaches Show. Also, special thanks to Eric Copeland and Mackenzie Frazier for organizing the set and arranging the guests, as they always do, week in and week out, and to Tom Rowe, our engineer, back at the ESPN New Hampshire studios. I'm Nick Anastos. A reminder, next week we will do it all again right here on Tuesday from Davison Hall, and heard back next week from 5:30 to 6:30. High School Insiders coming up next right here. This has been the Saint Anselm Coaches Show, live from the hilltop. I'm Nick Anastos. So long.